Guys, welcome back to another video, and in this video we're going to be continuing on with our making accessible apps for Apple platforms series, and in this particular video we are going to be taking a look at how it is that we can have VoiceOver speak characters of some kind of text, whether it be a UI label or whatever, individually, character by character. Now, in SwiftUI, this is relatively trivial because in order to have VoiceOver read characters individually in some kind of text, all you have to do is apply a modifier, and we'll cover that modifier in this video. However, in UIKit and AppKit, it's a little bit less straightforward because there are many ways to do it. There's no simple way of doing it necessarily. When you compare simplicity to how easy it is in SwiftUI, it's a little bit more manual than SwiftUI in macOS, in the AppKit and UIKit worlds. So let's actually go ahead and get started with how it is that we can actually do this by taking a look at our UIKit version of what we're working with. So all we're working with right now is a UI label in the center of our view inside of the safe area that says Hello World. And the font is the system font for normal text on iOS and stuff like that, and it has a font size of 48. Okay, so that's kind of what we're starting with, and in addition, the text color is green. That's just something I chose in the moment. It's not a huge deal. So how exactly then do we have VoiceOver read out each character individually? So the first thing that I want to do is create an extension on UI label. So let's go into Xcode here. We'll have extension UI label, and we'll add a function to UI label. Func speak individual characters, like that. Now, inside of this function, we're going to get the text of our UI label. We want to make sure that it isn't nil, because if it's nil, then what we're going to do by mapping it and everything like that, it's going to not be a fun time. It's not going to succeed. So we'll say guard let text equals text, else we want to return like that. All right. Now, what we can do here is we can say accessibility label equals text.map with a string and $0. That way we have an array of strings rather than an array of characters. And we want to call .joined with a separator. And this separator is going to be a space, like that. So we'll save our code, and that should be good. Now we just need to call this method on our label. So we'll say label dot speak individual characters. We'll save this, and then we can run our code, make sure that it works. And now, let's keep in mind that now that we have this new accessibility label, check, or rather keep an eye on the VoiceOver caption window down at the bottom left-hand corner of my screen, and you'll see the new label that was generated. All right. And there we go. Now, it's not perfect, again, because it doesn't say for like commas, it doesn't say comma or anything like that, but it's certainly a start, right? And that's kind of all we can ask for really in UIKit, because again, there's no simple as calling a single method or a modifier or setting a property to perform this in UIKit like there is in SwiftUI. So let's go into AppKit and see how we can do this over there. So we'll go into AppKit here. And we'll do a similar thing for our AppKit application. To start with AppKit, I have an NS text field with the string of hello world. This is configured to be a label. So it's not editable, doesn't have a border, it doesn't draw a background or anything like that. It's just plain text. This text is much like with our UIKit app. It is in the center of the screen, it's green, and the font size is 48. And it is the necessary font for labels. In addition to that. So, let's go ahead and create an extension on NS text field. So we can say extension NS text field func speak characters individually. All right, and then in here, let's make sure that string value isn't optional. Because if it is, okay, we're good. So we don't need to do any optional unwrapping here or anything like that. So we can go straight to mapping the characters out into an array of strings by saying set accessibility label as string value dot map string of $0 dot joined with a separator of space, like that. And we can bring this to its own line if we need to. So we can say, so we can do that. And then after our joined method, do that. And we should be good to go now. So let's save this code as it stands, and then we'll call this method on our text field here. All right, so we can say label dot speak characters individually. Let's save this, run our code. Now, when we're talking about, here's the thing about what we just did here. So the string value and the accessibility label are two entirely different things, right? So it reads hello world normally because that is the string value, but because we've set the because we have set the label to something different, it for assistive technologies, it will read that as well. So how then do we change this? How do we change it? Well, we can try to say, instead of accessibility label, we can say value. We can set that and run our code again and see what happens. And it still doesn't read it individually character by character. So ultimately in AppKit, it's a little bit more complicated than just creating an extension on NS text field, setting its accessibility value or its accessibility label, like we did in UIKit. But that's kind of an approach you could. This is, again, not perfect. It's an approach you could take and try your hand at modifying. But the point I ultimately want to get across here is that it's a little bit more involved on the other technologies in Apple's, and when it comes to Apple's frameworks and their different platforms. SwiftUI, on the other hand, is much simpler. So inside of Xcode, we'll go into our SwiftUI app. Now, just like our AppKit and UIKit apps, we just have text in the center of the screen. It's green. It's it's the size 48 using the system font. Nothing too fancy. So how do we get VoiceOver to read this hello world text individually, character by character? Well, to do that, we need to say dot. It is speech spells out characters. We can save this run our code, and when we try to read our text with VoiceOver, it goes and reads out each individual character, including the comma and the spaces. Now, this came very in handy for me recently because in the background I've been building a Braille dictionary app, and I needed to be able to read the characters individually for contractions and short form words and stuff like that. So, and for the letters and numbers. So this came in handy a lot. But that's how you can read text character by character using Swift UI. And that pretty much does it for this video, guys. Thank you all so very much for watching, and we will see you all in the next video.